Yeah.
We're on a journey together to unearth what really drives you, what matters most, so you can drive further, faster, and enjoy the ride. This is What Drives You, and I'm your host, Kevin Miller. What drives celebrity realtor Ryan Serhant, and 3 ways to stand out from the crowd and build your following. Ryan Serhant, he is one of the most successful and well-known real estate brokers in the world. Ryan is known as a star of Bravo's Emmy-nominated $1 Million Listing New York, its spin-off show, Sell It Like Serhant, and for his appearance in the film While We're Young, alongside Ben Stiller, Naomi Watts, and Adam Driver. Ryan founded his own real estate company, Serhant, that has grown to more than 300 agents and over 100 full-time employees across New York City, Long Island, the Hamptons, and Florida. And he's amassed over 6 million followers across all social platforms. If you remember the old TV show, Lifestyles and the Rich and Famous, Ryan is the guy that's gotten famous selling those types of homes and living that type of lifestyle. He's the guy that everyone would point to and say is Mr. Driven, like he got this supernatural dose of drive and everyone else pales in comparison. That's why I wanted to sit down and talk with him. I wanted to uncover what made him tick, what makes him tick, and how he's a mere mortal like the rest of us. So you're going to hear what drove him as a kid, where he went wrong, why today he wants to become the world's most well-known real estate agent simply because he wants a challenge and he's bored otherwise. I mean, the other half then of this conversation is about branding. So Ryan got where he is by becoming an expert in branding. He has a new book. It's titled Brand It Like Serhant. Stand out from the crowd, build your following, and earn more money. I dug deep into, he's got 3 keys of branding, which are 1, discover your core identity. 2, consistency is key with a focus on social media. And 3, shout it from the mountaintop, or rather how to. And I do want to say in that first area, discover your core identity, I really got into the concept of we're not all trying to be him. He's very outgoing, very charismatic. I mean, he's an actor in essence. That's not what we have to do. We have to discover our core identity, and we can maximize our branding through that. It's incredible information that Ryan has just proven. He even went so far as to look at my social media and website, and he gave candid, constructive criticism. So this is not only a masterclass in drive, but a masterclass in branding that you're not going to want to miss. You'll also hear at the end of the show, it's interesting, Ryan looking at his watch and being dumbfounded at how long we had talked, claiming it was the longest conversation he's ever had with someone in his life, and his wife's going to be jealous. I took that as a great compliment. Enjoy. Okay, Ryan, as I'm reading your book and getting to know you lately, and even now seeing you in your office and in mine, I got to admit it. I feel like it's like country mouse and city mouse. Here you are up in New York, which I speak to a lot of people in New York, man, but you do New York. I mean, you're the guy. And I'm sitting up here in the mountains, and I appreciate that. I mean, as we're going to get into talking about brand, there you go. That's relevant, right? Is to own where you're at.
Yes. 1,000%.
1,000%.
Even when you're 14 years old or you're a W-2 employee, you have to know your brand, right? You have a personal brand, whether you know it or not. And so my whole thing has always been, you should take control of it.
Well, and we're going to get into that. I want to go through some of yours. I do want to pull out, just because it was so stinking interesting. I have never read a book in the business or personal development space that brought up the term rumspringa. It's got to be a first. How did that get into your vernacular?
Oh man. Probably from that show about the Amish. And when they leave, they go do that trip. They come and they go and they get to be hedonists. I mean, that's probably where it first came into my lexicon. I will also say that I'm based in New York City, and it's a pretty religious market here. Yeah. And so maybe in your world, a rumspringa isn't something that people bring up a lot, but in our world here, we're doing condo towers, in Williamsburg and Brooklyn, and that community is there's a deep community there. And anyway, so that's probably a big mixture of that. But I've known that word since I moved to New York.
Okay, well, it's stuck out because my grandparents were Amish.
Yeah.
And they went through Rumspringa, and my grandfather then said, no, I'm not going to stay with the Amish. He stayed with the Mennonite religion, but I'm not going to. My grandmother said she was. Then she met him and she left it then. Well, after Rumspringa, if you say I'm in, you don't leave. Yeah. She did, and she was shunned her entire life by the Amish. So that term, that's why it stuck out. There you go. I got personal history with that one.
Yeah, that's wild. Yeah, no, it's the rite of passage, right? For the Amish, and they get to go and experience electricity and smoke a cigarette and go to a restaurant or a club and go crazy, and then they can say, do you want to come home, or you can stay out there, with the crazy people.
With the crazy people. Yeah. Yeah. Well, my grandfather did. He went out then, got himself a car, though it was black. That was black car. So he didn't go too wild. Well, man, speaking of upbringing, I want to go into yours because you've done a lot. I'm interested into what drives you. I can see some of that. Obviously, you're out there. Your brand is out there. But even going back, I was looking at your bio, and a couple of things of interest, that you and your younger brother were taught to value education and hard work from a very young age. Looks like your dad was a successful guy. And as I look at that and look where you're at now, do you feel like you were born into success? Was it an expectation? How were the feelings back then in your youth in regards to getting you on this track?
I believe strongly in the bell curve, right? The Malcolm McDowell outliers curve, where the one who had to fight for it gets the success, and then he never wants his kids to experience anything he ever experienced, and so then the kids come in and they Hunter Biden it all the way back down, right? And so for us, I grew up watching kids who did that. And my dad, for better and for worse, very much didn't care. He was like, I'm going to allow you to experience things the way I experienced them growing up, with a few added benefits. Like, my dad lost his mom when he was 14. Like, he had to take care of his brothers and sisters because it destroyed his dad. They had no money living in Ohio. He lost his brother, in a car accident when he was in early 20s. My dad had then had his first kid when he was 19 years old. It's my sister Jill. There's like these things. He was practicing to be a priest. He was in school to be a priest, and then when his brother died, his brother had a child out of wedlock, and they wouldn't bury him in the same plot next to their mother.
Wow.
Because it was against the Catholic Church. And in that moment at the hospital, as his brother was dying, my dad said, I understand, Father, and I'm going to see you in hell. And he went from there into finance. And so I can't imagine what any of that's like. I haven't experienced any of that. And he did. So he very, very much drilled into us the power of the dollar, the worth of $1. We had to pick up sticks as jobs for, in the summers for 10 cents a stick, 5 cents a twig, like crazy. That I can't even imagine telling my daughter to do that today, but he made us do it. And we had to, we had our first job. Everything had to be manual labor. We had very, very strict chores. Every night we had to give a school report at the dinner table. Through college, I had to do school reports every Sunday, but then we had benefits. I didn't have to pay for school ever.
Yeah.
Right. My mom is still alive. I didn't have to raise my little brother or my older brother or my older sister, right? I did actually get to do one summer in college where I did manual labor working as a ranch hand for half the summer. And then I was able to negotiate going to theater camp for the other half. And I didn't have to pay for it, so there were definitely benefits. I never remember experiencing any pressure to be him or to be better than him. I think probably because I wasn't as smart. Like it never even entered my brain that it would be possible. He's a genius. Like he can do math that computers can't. And so to think that he was going to be a priest is like, it's amazing to think what a waste that would have been to modern economics. And for me, I took macro and micro econ my freshman year of college. I think I got a C minus and a D plus. I just like theater. So I think I did have a chip on my shoulder to find success my own way, which I think has really fairly and unfairly, for better and for worse, influenced what I've done since I graduated over the past, 18 years, because I have put myself in a troubles way where there were definitely easier ways to do this stuff. Like, I didn't have to go start my own company. I could have worked for someone else. I didn't have to work at a tiny firm when I just got into the business. I could have worked for a big firm like all my competitors, real estate agents working at huge brokerages. Go join a team, go get business from your boss, like, be taken care of. Life will be fine. Why on earth did I stand on a street corner for 2 years and try to meet strangers to make my own business, even though I wasn't from New York? Like, I don't know. I think back.
I was going to say, I want to know why. Why?
I don't know. I think because it was drilled into us as little kids more than just the value of hard work and the dollar of you answer only to yourself. You are responsible for yourself, and the only one who's going to make you a success or a failure is going to be you. So you might as well figure it out on your own. You might as well go do it on your own. I had like $20,000 saved up from summer jobs when I graduated school, and I used that to pay my rent and food bills living in New York City for my first 2 years while I tried to be an actor, right? That was my first thing. It was no survival jobs, no waiting tables, no temp work, nothing like that. And it was only when I ran out of money did I actually get my real estate license and get a quote unquote real job.
So, again, didn't feel pressured to be like your dad, but you did get the message of success, of aspiration, and that fit. Would you say, yeah, that was you were good with that? You didn't rebel against that. You were good with that, but you did want to do it your own way. Is there a trigger for that you wanted to do it your own way? Was there something? I mean, I look back on statements like that and go, man, something manifested that.
Probably when I was a little kid and I wasn't as good at school and math as the rest of my family was. I wasn't an athlete. I had no interest in economics or calculus. Like, I liked theater. I liked performance. I liked making little movies. I liked comedy. I was like that, the black sheep kid from Wedding Crashers,
Mm-hmm.
That was me in the corner. And so I was always outside the pack. And so I was always trying to figure out how to do things on my own. But I was super passionate about it. Like, I was like, I'm going to figure out how to make this work somehow, some way. I'm going to be on TV. That's what I want to do. Now, I didn't know I had to go become a real estate agent after failing at acting to get on a reality TV show. That was not on my bingo card. But I knew that one day I'm going to make this happen. One day I'm going to be in the movies. One day I'm going to make this happen. And I think I think I was, from a very, very young age, I was already in my own mind so different from everybody else that it wasn't odd to me as I got older to continue to be different and to continue to try to do things my own way. I mean, my brothers followed the path. They were all athletes. They all worked in finance, and they still do to this day, but they're not the ones telling stories at Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right?
Fair. Sort of the acting aspect. Call it performing. I mean, you've got a kid now. I mean, I've got a bunch of kids, and I look at them, and I have it's amazing how they come out with different perspectives, and you wonder, man, why does that? I've got kids who do performing, and I've got kids who would rather have their teeth pulled than perform. And you go, what? I don't know. I wish I could. I'm the drive guy. What drove that? I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. When you look at it there, was it just, man, you love the applause, you like the attention, you like expressing yourself? Do you look back at that then and have some kind of an inkling?
I think everybody wants to be liked, especially the people that say they don't. I think little kids are always looking for attention. I would say I come from a very loving family. There's significant amounts of respect, but I'd say it was incredibly strict, very conservative, very buttoned up. And so I think theater was also my outlet. I wasn't good at sports. Like, you're growing up in the Northeast in the United States, like you play baseball, you play football, you play soccer, you play hockey, you do sports, right? If you play lacrosse, like that's what you do. And I was terrible at all of them. And I also didn't have like a fallback. Like, it wasn't like, well, at least I'm learning how to build computers. Like, I think because we moved so much, we moved from Texas to Long Island to Boston, and we kept moving houses all the time. I had to keep making new friends. Like, we'd only settled down when I got to high school. So the friends I have today from quote unquote growing up, I didn't meet until I was 14, 15. And so I think I always had to continue to make new friends, which is wildly what I do today. Like, my job today in sales is every day I have to generate new business, which is every day I go out and make new friends. I had to make the same way I make friends today was the same way I had to make friends when I was 12 years old, moving to a new neighborhood and having to go knock on doors. My dad basically he didn't know this, but in today's world, it was a door-to-door salesman. For me and my little brother, we would move house and we'd walk down the block and we would go knock on as many doors as we could. And he would force us so awkwardly to say, "Hi, my name's Ryan." My little brother would say, "Hi, my name's Jack. We just moved into the house across the street. Will you be our friends?" And we're still friends with some of those people to this day. And it's just like, it was such a weird time, but such an invaluable skill that like, I should have, thinking back on it, I'm like, obviously that little kid grew up and became a salesperson and like got into sales and turned it into a thing. But at the time, it was just the worst.
Okay. Oh, it's so interesting, right? So, I've got kids. I've got a bunch of kids, and we've always had them do farmers market. We live in a small town up in the mountains, and they do farmers market. Well, people come up to buy their stuff, and they have to interact. It's been amazing. Did I teach them, how to win friends and influence? I did make them read the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. But they just learned by doing it. We get all these things of, Ryan, natural born salesperson. And that's why I was asking these questions. No, your dad forced you to go door to door and make cold calls to make friends. You were bred. Well, it's the hard knocks of learning, right?
Yeah, I guess so. But I think you are, it's like building muscle.
Yeah.
You read like Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, like he was able to build what he built because he started when he was 10.
Yeah.
Or earlier, I can't remember, because you build muscle memory. I do that for loss too. Like, if I learned early on that I was deeply affected by losing deals, or you losing something, or someone pisses you off, or something bad happens, and it would ruin your day, ruins your week. And that happens to salespeople. That's a big reason why salespeople get out of sales.
Yeah.
Like, it's like 85% of the time. But you can build muscle memory the same way you can build a bicep. You just have to do it and be repetitive at it. And so one of the things I'll do is I'll do a calendar note to myself, just super simply, right? We all have phones, and I'll do a calendar invite to myself 30 days out from the moment that something bad happens. And I'll write down all of my feelings. So I take a moment, I breathe, I write down exactly how I feel about what just happened. And like clockwork, 30 days go by. I see that calendar note that says open me. I open it. I look at it, and I'm like, man, I am such a wimp. or like, why did I care so much about that deal? I fixed it.
Yeah.
Like, why did I care so much about that person? Like, man, things are so much better now that they're out of my life. Time heals all wounds, obviously, but it also starts to build that muscle memory. So now if I lose a deal or something bad happens, I'll go on my phone, just the act of typing that note.
Yeah.
My brain already knows the way I'm going to feel in 30 days. So I immediately feel better. It doesn't make it less raw, but it enables me now to use that feeling as fuel versus using that feeling as gasoline.
Yeah. I started out podcasting with the Ziglar Show after Zig Ziglar. So that was what a privilege and a gift. And people think of him as this natural born salesperson, natural born speaker. And of course, you go back into the story, and I think nobody trained for it more than he did. And again, man, you're on TV, you're a celebrity, and it's easy to look at you and go, okay, yeah, it's got the perfect thing going for them, perfect pedigree, natural born guy. You're just doing what you were born out of the womb to do. And yet what I see is somebody who is trained like nobody else. And I do want to go back. You said your first year in real estate, you didn't just get into real estate and just kill it. Natural born salesperson, boom, you did it. You said you made $9,000 your first year. That sucks.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Well, relative, but it's not the fairy tale thing. So I want to go back into that, because what I find, I mean, would you say that that's you? How much of RyanSerhant is, oh yeah, I just fell into what I was supposed to do, naturally bred, or I trained? What's the percentage? Natural or training? Nature or nurture?
Oh, I think it's 50-50 for most people. I believe that I was prepared to be a salesperson my entire life, but I only unlocked that once I knew what to unlock. Like, I think we all have the lock and we all have the key. I think it's a special moment when you realize what key you have for which lock. Like, I didn't know that for 8 years of doing acting and theater and improv training, thinking that I was going to try to be an actor, I didn't realize that being a salesperson is really an improv game every day, right? I am who you're going to be. This is a game of yes and. All right, you want a 2-family on the lake? Yes. And let me get back to you, even though there's nothing available. And yes, I am going to go and door knock till I find someone willing to sell. And yes, you give me until 5 p.m. to find you the property, or you're going to use another agent. Yes. And I'm going to make that happen. And it's just, yes. And you just keep asking questions, and you keep moving things around, and you keep improvising. And so I think there's a little bit of nurture there. I think obviously the nature is that I found the passion for doing all that at a young age. Whereas, like, none of my brothers did. They followed in my family footsteps, and got into finance, and they were the athletes. They all had the arm. I didn't have the arm. I still don't have the arm. I throw sideways. I don't know why. My nurture and my arm could be better.
But at least you're throwing with beautiful hands, apparently, because you became a hand model. Yeah.
Listen, some of us, we have to do what it takes, right? So I did, because it paid $150 an hour, and they book you for 10 hours at a time. And you sit there and they take photos of your hands holding different things. Like, that's $1,500. Where else was I making $1,500 when I was 20 in a day? When I was 22?
I am curious how that happened. Like, you are on an audition and they're like, yeah, it was okay or whatever, but oh my God, look at his hands.
It was, no, back then you would do modeling headshots, and they were all printed out, and you had to put them in envelopes and deliver them to modeling agencies. And I had gotten onto a soap opera. And so I was on As the World Turns, playing Dr. Evan Walsh IV. And so, I've always been pretty good at, the minute someone gives me an inch, I'm like, how can I take a couple feet? Like, what's next for me? What's going on? I did that once I got my first TV show on Bravo, and that's why we did all the spinoffs and all that. So, like, it was always just me initiating and saying, all right, what else can we do? I'm here. I'm going to be easy to work with, and I'm going to think outside the box. I know what you need. Let's make it happen. So I got into the soap opera, and I was like, okay, great. How do I get onto the next soap opera? How do I get in front of film directors? How can I do this? I should do modeling too. And so I had headshots done. And one of those headshots was like this, the classic, like, actor hand like this. Yeah. And so I'd gotten a modeling agent who sent me out for a lot of, like, jeans stuff, some weird stuff. And I'm a terrible model, like, just not a great model. And so, but one of the auditions he sent me out on, his name was Rick Kelly. And he was great. And he was like, listen, I got a casting for you. It's going to be tomorrow. It's in Midtown. I think you live in Midtown. And I did. I lived in Koreatown, which is right there on top of every train. And he was like, but here's the thing. There's a catch. And I was like, okay, what is it? He's like, it's for AT&T. It's for your hands. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'd never even thought about this. He's like, they're looking for hand models, and that one image of you that we have, the thing with your hand on your face, they're interested in seeing you. It's like, oh. And I was like, that's weird. I don't know. They're like, they pay $150 an hour. And I'm like, what time, where, when should I
No
be
doubt.
there?
No
You
doubt.
can have all my hands. Whatever you want me to do with my hands, I'll use them.
Uh-huh.
And it was the next day. And then I kind of forgot about it. I didn't put it into my calendar, and I wasn't going to do it. The only reason I went was because then he called me like a good broker. He's like, hey, just want to make sure you're on your way and you're wearing a sleeveless shirt because they need to take photos of your hands and your arms. I was like, oh, damn it. So, yep, I'm on my way. And because I lived in Koreatown, I was so close. All the castings were all in the garment district, in these weird long hallways and little rooms and stuff. So I ran down there. I get there. I go into the casting room. And the casting lady says, hi, do you have your book? And when you're a model, your book is like a book of different photos you've taken.
Yeah.
So they can see like, all right, well, maybe today isn't your best day, but let's see how he photographs. Let's see what he looks like in black and white and sepia and all that stuff. And for hand modeling, I was like, no, I don't have a book. And then I looked around and everybody in the room was a professional parts model, hands and feet, elbows, neck, stomach, butt, all that stuff. You see like Lululemon photos, right?
Yeah.
It's like someone's butt. That is a professional butt model. Like they have the perfect butt for photos. And so they're all sitting there with their hands up above their shoulders, draining the blood out of their hands so that they wouldn't have any veins in the photos.
Wow.
And I see it was like a scene out of it was just nuts. And so I didn't know what to do. So I went in there. But my parents forced me to play piano when I was little, and I have big hands and like long fingers, and I could grip like this is like there was no iPhones back then, but I could grip an iPhone, let's say like this, with one hand, without it straining my knuckles, and they were like, "Wow." And my hands had no freckles and no veins and no wrinkles, so they were like androgynous a little bit. They're like your hands could be male or female, and I was like, I don't know how I take that actually. And they cast me, and I held phones for AT&T for $150 an hour for like a year and a half. They flew me around the country. I was like, are you sure there's no hands anywhere else? And like, no, I must have these hands. Anyway, that paid my rent like for a long time. Like that, I thank God for these hands, man.
Yeah, that's a good Thanksgiving story.
Yeah.
No doubt. So from that into real estate, when we talk about going after your passions and whatnot, obviously, you've gone to real estate and you already said that, and you've ended up on TV. You've ended up fulfilling that. But back then you didn't know that. So was the real estate, were you disappointed? Like, I got to go get a day job. I got to go get something like that. This is a step down. I'm not being true to my passion, but if it'll fund it, was that the initial foray into it? No idea that real estate would become something that fit?
Honestly, I had run out of money. It was the summer of 2008. I my debit card had just gotten declined at the grocery store. I was like, I got to move home. I'd run out of money. I wasn't good at budgeting at all. And it was at that moment where I was like, all right, so in order for me to pay my rent the next month, I have to make more money. And my hand modeling jobs, it wasn't a year and a half all day, every day. That would have been amazing. Right. It was, I would have made hundreds of thousands of dollars, but they'd book me as time went on.
Yeah.
So I'd spent through everything. And so so it was be a bartender, right? Wait tables, do temp work. Like those are the three things that most people in my shoes would typically do, especially in New York City. And I didn't want to do any of those because I was doing a play in the Hudson River. So like on the Hudson River, they have like the Hudson River Park. And it's just like a free, you walk on it. It's next to the highway. And so we were doing Romeo and Juliet, like on the grassy knoll next to the highway, for free. You do free stuff. When you first move to New York City, you're working for free all the time. And so it's just like there was a guy in there who was playing Father Capulet, and he was must have been late 50s, and he was so excited. Because he was like, this is my big break. There's going to be an amazing person that comes to this. I think my agent is going to come. It's going to be awesome. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, dude, someone's dog just took a dump on our stage in front of us. No one cares. There's no one here. And I saw my future. I just looked at him and saw my future. It's like, I cannot be doing this in 30 years. I will lose my mind. And a friend of mine was doing real estate part-time. He's like, listen, get your real estate license. The market's insane. Post things on Craigslist. Now, this is the summer of 2008. Just sell apartments, rent an apartment a month. You'll pay all your bills, right? Go rent an apartment for $4,000 a month. Commission is 1 month's rent. So it's $4,000. You get 50-50 of that. You split it with the house. You'll make $2,000. You do that a couple times a month. I was like, a couple times a month?
Yeah.
I can make like $6,000 a month from just helping someone rent an apartment that they might rent anyway. He's like, well, I mean, it's more complicated than that because most people will waste your time, but but yeah, basically. I was like, all right, so I'll go do that. And you take a course. At that time, it was like 40 hours or something. I think now it's 75. Got my license, and I started on September 15th, 2008, the day Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. That was day one for me.
Wow.
In my nice clothes. I was in my cowboy boots, my khaki pants.
I read that. I read that story. Where was there, I assume there was, or was it just a slow dawning, or was there a point when you realized, wait a minute, man, this gig might fit me long term. It might scratch that itch from the performing aspect. Was that a realization all of a sudden, or just a slow dawning as it progressed?
It was a slow dawning. I mean, the realization came a little while later because I got pretty lucky. Like, I put acting to the side.
Okay.
Right? That first year, actually, 2008 to like the fall of 2009, was a wild time because I was still trying to act. I was still trying to hand model to pay my bills. Real estate was way harder than anyone told me, in huge part because the world literally collapsed the day that I started. No one was buying apartments. No one was renting. I would get a client, on the internet or meet a stranger, and they would get fired. Halfway through a deal, they would lose their job. They'd work at Morgan Stanley, boom. They were working at Lehman Brothers, boom, right? They were working at Barclays, boom. And so people were just getting laid off left and right. And so it was really, 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 really hard. And so I had to find an alternate means to make money. And one of the things that I would do is I would put ads on Craigslist to help people find rental apartments. Yeah. And every now and then people would reach out and they would say, well, I'm also looking to buy. Do you do sales? And I would just try to meet as many people as I possibly could. And if I could meet 15 new people a day, then I could do anything. And that's kind of an acting muscle. When you're an actor as a job, like when you first get to New York, you have no prospects. So you have to have your headshot, you have your resume from school, and you run around and you try to meet as many people as you can. Acting coaches, casting directors, potential agents, potential managers, different actors, join this class, join that. You're prospecting all day long. And what you're selling is yourself.
Yeah.
Then I got my real estate license, and it's the same thing, except instead of a photo of my face and my college theater credits, it was this listing or that listing. And I was running around all day trying to meet different people, trying to selling myself as their salesperson. And I was like, man, this is very similar. And the rejection didn't really faze me because you spend 2 years as an actor in New York City. The rejection is personal. It's to your face because of your face. It's to your voice because they hate your voice. And you take it, it is hard. It's hard. They don't like your teeth. We're not giving you we're not paying you because of your ears, right? Or your chemistry's wrong. So the rejection in real estate, people would just ghost you because they don't want to buy an apartment, or little old ladies would lie to your face to save $5. And you're like, this is weird. I didn't realize people were so mean. And it wasn't until the casting for $1 Million Listing New York on Bravo in March of 2010 did I really think like, maybe what I've done my whole life trying to perform, maybe that muscle could actually become really, really beneficial to me as an actor, as a real estate agent, actually. And that sort of flushed itself out slowly over time.
Did you, I'm trying to think of a way to say this in a respectful way, but in your job as a realtor, I mean, you are, like you talked about, I'm making friends. It's the same thing that you did back then. I'm making friends. The job is making friends. Does it feel like, again, I'm trying to find a way to make it not sound inauthentic, but it is a performing. I mean, it is a performance. You're trying to connect with people which we don't want to say connection, relationships as a performance, but I really feel like to do it well. I mean, we're back to how to win friends and influence people. I mean, it is an effort. It is a structured thing. Does it feel like even there, it does fit some of the performance aspects?
Oh yeah, for sure. I meet new clients every day. You got to be on. You got to smile. It doesn't matter if I just lost a deal. It doesn't matter if I just got in a fight with someone. It doesn't matter if it's raining or you're sick. Salespeople don't take sick days. Like there's no salary. There's no benefits. There's no guarantee of income in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
So what do you think you're going to do? You're going to hustle. You're going to get out there. You're going to follow up with people, and you got to be on at all times. The same way, like if you're in an off-Broadway show or you're doing a play or you're making a movie or whatever you're doing, there's no sick days because the whole crew is dependent on you. So you got to show up. You got to smile through the pain. You got to go throw up and then come back, right? And be like, hey, listen, I got 20 minutes before I'm nauseous again. Let's do it. Like you got to make it happen. You got to say yes and figure it out.
Yeah.
It's my biggest pet peeve with people today. There's so much opportunity out there today that it's daunting to even make a singular decision, and it puts people into a corner. Whereas like I kind of miss the expectation of the hustle, right? The expectation of the grind. Like things are supposed to be hard, is at least the way that I grew up and the way that I was told when I moved into New York City. Like, hey, just being here is hard. Mm-hmm. Paying your rent is going to be hard. Getting a job is going to be really hard. Making money consistently is going to be really hard. Finding a girlfriend here is going to be hard. Everything's hard. Today, the first sign at something being hard, people back out. Oh, no way. That's way too hard. I'm not doing that. Hard. That's way too hard. That's way too hard. And I don't know, it drives me crazy.
Well, I'm guessing that talking about drive, what I just heard, you said you missed that. You want it to be hard without is that part of your own inspiration? If there's not a challenge, you're bored.
I think that's part of my problem now. I think I thrive on the adrenaline of conflict. I think I've always put myself into corners. I've always backed myself up against a wall. As much as I hate it, it's when I operate at my best. It's when I make my clearest decisions.
Stop there with you hate it. Explain that. You hate it, but go right there. I
mean, I hated not having money.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be here today if I'd never had that feeling, if I had never had to fight out of that corner. I hated when COVID hit and every deal I had died. And I'd already made the decision to start my own company and take on payroll and take on overhead. And I had already signed a lease for a new place. Yeah. And I was in complete and utter panic mode. And everybody else was cutting, furloughing, firing left and right. You turn on CNBC and there's a body death clicker, right? Every day, how many people died today around the world? I'm like, what am I? Like, it was the worst feeling ever. Today, COVID was the best thing that happened to me. Absolute best. I would not be here today if it weren't for COVID. Because it gave me the opportunity to build. Because I got a spring market, a summer, and a fall kind of for free. We didn't have to pay taxes. Remember? We didn't have to pay taxes. New York City shut down. Everyone left. It was like, hey, Ryan, I know you want to start your own business in New York. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to stop the global economy. We're going to give you 6 months as a head start. You good? Yes. Now, at the time, it didn't feel that way. At the time, it felt like the Dow sold off by 10,000 points. At the time, it felt like, wow, this is my 2008. Holy, I am not financially prepared. What am I going to do? But from fire, right, comes the phoenix. So I had to make it work. And we had to get efficient. And it really forced us to create really, really, really clear and strong business practices when we started the company, because I didn't have the freedom of capital. Even though I have the freedom of capital today, 4 years later, I will only spend $1 if there's a direct contribution to revenue.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I will not spend. Because I know exactly what it's like to be in the middle of COVID and be scared shitless about money. I know exactly what it's like to get my debit card declined at the grocery store. And I could have always moved home. I wouldn't have been homeless. But like I said, as a little kid, I've always wanted to figure it out by myself. And I'd rather cry on the subway because I'm terrified about a lack of money than turn to anyone for help. Maybe that's stupid. I don't know. But I wouldn't be here today if I had asked for help. That's for sure.
Okay, so looking at that, essentially COVID and how you had to buckle down. I mean, obviously the impetus for us being together here was, well, a good introduction from our buddy Rory Vaden, but your book on brand. And I, as I've been studying it and studying brand, even looking at my own industry, podcasting, man, I got in back when, man, you could do a really good show and you could grow. That's gone now. Doesn't exist. You can have the greatest content out there. It won't go anywhere. And it's forced me to figure out better, at least, a brand. And it feels, so this is your expertise, but it's felt to me in my own industry and looking across, and we're at a time now when it's never been more important. I mean, you've got to, because everything's a commodity. I mean, we can't be the best at anything. We can't, even the aspect of being different, I feel like is difficult now because there's only so many levels of different. Whatever level of aspect of different you are in, so are a million other people supposedly. And it's only what, it's interesting. The Super Bowl just happened. I don't watch sports much, but we watch the Super Bowl, kind of see what's happening in America,
Yeah.
And watching the ads. And I'll point out to the kids, because my kids aren't used to ads. So we'll watch them. I go, do you notice anything on the ad there? Kid goes, yeah, they didn't tell us one thing about the car.
Yeah.
Nothing. Zero. We know nothing about it. All we know is that apparently if you're in it, you're really sexy or you're different. All right. It's brand. I mean, it feels like it is the holy grail to some degree. Fair?
For sure. Absolutely. And I think it's not that it's more important now than ever before. I think it's more possible now than ever before to have control of brand creation. If you want to build a brand for a product, a podcast, a sweatshirt company, real estate, whatever you want to do, or for yourself as a person, right? If you are anchoring your product to your persona, it's more possible now than ever before to take control of that brand awareness than it's ever been before. Like I got super lucky in 2010, when I went to an audition with 3,000 real estate agents to be on $1 Million Listing New York, and they narrowed it down to 3. It was the height of cable TV, like prime, like Survivor, Kardashians, like there was no streaming. There was no Instagram video. There was no TikTok. It was, you wanted TV, you had cable, or you had premium, right? Or DVDs. So we had a very concentrated audience at the time, which was super, super helpful. But not everybody could get on a TV show, right? To write a book, you can do it. You can self-publish. No one's going to read it. You'd have to have incredible talent or connections to make something. Today, even just a platform like TikTok rewards talent. It doesn't matter if you're based in Mongolia, Botswana, New York, Alabama, up in the mountains. If you have talent and you put it out there consistently, the algorithm rewards you. The world will know you. And that's what's exciting about AI for me. People talk about, it's going to replace all these jobs. And yeah, every revolution does.
Yeah.
The industrial revolution did, the internet revolution did, the mobile revolution did, the AI revolution did. And AI is a commodity. Right? No one's going to invest in AI the same way you don't buy stock in the internet, right? You are going to benefit from what gets built on top of that platform. And I get excited about, okay, well, what stories can someone tell now in some part of the world that we were never going to know before? Like what person 10 years ago would have ended up just long gone in the cemetery with a talent that the world never would have experienced? Maybe now we can experience it. And that's super, super exciting. But going back to brand, like you think it used to be you think brand, you think Nike, Tiffany's, Prada, like those are brands.
Yeah.
Supreme, like you think about, oh, okay, I reckon it's a logo, it's a color, I get it. But the reason you remember it is because of the emotion, not the visuals. It's hard to remember someone's face that you have no emotional connection to. You're like, oh, I think I met that guy. What's he look like? There's no emotional connection there. You don't remember. You remember a beautiful woman, exactly what she looks like, because there's an immediate emotional memory mark that your brain remembers. Like, oh, mate, potential, right? Your brain remembers it. And that brand, you don't remember the swish. You remember the brand because it was on the shoe of someone that gave you that emotional moment when the putt went in or the basket. You know what I mean? And so that's where brand gets really exciting to me, and how you can use emotion to tell your story, to connect with your audience, and you start niche and then you grow, but it's got to be clear, concise, and memorable. And it's possible today. And anyone can build a personal. Actually, everybody has a personal brand. You just don't know it if you don't think you do. You're that one in the group chat that's everyone else has another group chat about.
Let's go to the dark side of the brand issue, because just what you said, I mean, it's an emotion, it's an association. So back to the Super Bowl commercials, and let's say you've got, 3 car ads, and they're all just different images that they want you to associate with. It's kind of back to the Marlboro Man. It's not just a cigarette. A cigarette, it smells better, tastes better, doesn't kill you as fast, whatever. They put it with the Marlboro Man and gave us an association. And I feel like that's where we are today. I mean, I probably buy more outdoor equipment than most people. And I can't figure out that North Face is better than Marmot, is better than Patagonia, they may all claim it, but seriously, at some point, I'm just going to end up buying based on who I want to associate myself with. Sure. Okay, Columbia now seems sort of mainstream, and North Face is getting there. Patagonia is still cool, but here's another brand that's kind of new and hip. I'm just going to buy that. They're all kind of the same price. They're all kind of the same stuff. I'm going to associate. Well, that can piss you off on the artist side of going, no, but mine's better. I have more integrity. I'm actually an honest realtor. I actually care about people, whatever. And you want that to win. And I feel like, and I'm going to ask you to weigh in on this, that can irritate us. And yet I feel like, but if you are the best, you've got to play the game or you're not going to be found. So hopefully you want to embrace both, but you can't get pissed off at the branding game because it is what it is. Fair?
Yeah, otherwise you're the greatest quarterback who threw a football at a wall.
Yeah.
No one. I mean, that's fine. You just can't complain. So you got to play the game, right? Don't hate the player, hate the game. Isn't that what they say?
Yeah.
Right. The ability for you to build awareness today is incredible. The ability to cut through attention is incredible. But you have to know really what your core identity is. So in the book, and this all really spawned from. I wrote my first book in 2017. It came out in 2018. It was called Sell It Like Serhant. We turned it into a TV show on Bravo. And then we turned it into an education platform called sellitLikeSerhant.com. And it's like, you know what, we'll help salespeople around the world, mostly real estate, I think, get better. That business became a juggernaut. I had no idea that there was a blue ocean for sales training in the modern day. I had no idea. Little did I know. And then we had people from all different types of industries all over the world starting to join. And they all asked, for one thing that we weren't providing, which was, I need to generate new business. How do I generate new business? And how do I build my reputation? Right. That's the word that everyone used to use. Right? It was reputation. I need a better reputation, because that's why Sally gets the business. That's why Mike gets the business. That's why John gets all the business on that block, because everyone knows him. It's his reputation. It was like, okay, so you can build a reputation over time, I guess, right? Just do enough right things, tell people about it. Eventually you'll have a reputation as the person who does right things that everybody knows about. Maybe there's math to that, though. Let's reverse it. So reputation starts, I guess I'm going to back into that with perception.
Yeah.
So everyone has a perception of you, and over time that turns into reputation. Okay. So then how do people get to perception? How do they even have a perception of you? I guess it's how you act, right? It's how you act. It's how you act, how you talk, how you appear, everything you do. But how do you even decide how to act? How do I decide how to talk? Should I have an accent? No accent? Should I move my arms a lot? Should I not? Should I do a thing? Should I wear glasses? Not wear glasses? Should I have a beard? What do I do? I guess I have to truly understand what my core identity is. Like, who am I? Like, what? Stand in front of the mirror and say, who am I? What am I? Ask a friend to describe you without using your name. See what they say. Ask a couple friends. Find someone who's really, really honest. And you're going to be surprised that it's going to be very superficial, which means that you probably don't spend enough time telling people about the traits that make you you. Right? If you talk a lot about history, you love it, all history, the first thing people are going to say is the history buff with gray hair, right? But if you keep that on the inside, everyone's going to say the gray-haired guy is super quiet. Well, that's not me. That's not my... No, I'm the one who does it. Okay, well, then no one knows that you're the one who.
Yeah.
Right? You got to tell people. So core identity leaves your lips, leaves your face, leaves your fingertips when you're typing. That turns into the perception the world has of you. And then when you leave the chat, you leave the room, you leave the coffee shop, that perception turns into reputation. And like a pot of boiling water, when you don't watch it, that pot eventually boils, right? And that is brand creation. And it's that emotional connection that people have with your reputation, which is how you develop a know, like, and trust factor. You would buy North Face over Bob's coat because Bob's coat is a better deal. It's a better price. It looks super warm and comfortable, but who's Bob? Should I wear? What if Bob's like a crazy? I don't know. Like maybe this jacket's going to fall apart. Maybe it looks really nice now. Maybe it's cheap for a reason. I'll just buy the North Face. I'll overpay. God, I've seen people wear it for years and years and years. Oh. There's a know, like, and trust factor there. Right? So that's how you start to think about the emotional connection and building and pushing.
On the reputation, though, is it fair to say? I haven't known you long enough. Well, we have a mutual friend that recommended us, so I'm borrowing his reputation. That's what kicked us off, and probably likewise for you. Outside of that, though, is it fair to say, as opposed to back in the old days where the reputation took so long to build, that now can I go? This is a legit question. Is it fair to say, can I go to your Instagram page with a couple million followers and a ton of stuff you've posted there and look at you? I can click on the thing. I can see you. I can hear you. I can see about your personal life. I can see about your business life. I can see about your personal interests. And I can say, I got it. I got his reputation. That's his perspective. Is that too far, or is that relevant?
No, for sure. I think you have to be consistent. And sometimes I'm consistent and sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm on top of it. Sometimes I'm not. It depends on the week. But I think if you're in build mode, it's different from maintain mode. I think everyone should treat every day like it's page one, but that's also exhausting, right? It's exhausting to live every day as if it's your last, like that. Hopefully today is not my last, and I don't have to go to Disney World by 5 p.m. because, oh my God, it could be my last. But if you look at my social, I think you have a clear understanding that I'm high energy, I'm successful, I'm polished, I'm involved in sales, real estate, based in New York. Looks like a nice, good guy, but I don't know him. I don't know. Prematurely gray hair. Like that's the visual. People know me from the back of my head more than anything. People yell at me from the back when they see the back of my head walking down the street in every city. It's like, it's wild to me. I have a book, actually, a book that we created for like listings. It's a real estate book that we give to developers and everything. And I have it here somewhere. I can show it to you. The photo is literally the back of my head. Like the cover photo is the back of my head because that's how people recognize me.
So take that. Okay, let's be legit. So let's say that I'm tired of the mountain life. I'm going to move to New York, and I want to sell luxury real estate. Well, as you said in the book, at that time, there's 80,000 realtors in New York already. You're one of them. You're the most well-known. You sell luxury real estate. Is there a snowball's chance that I can sell anything? Because you're the guy. Don't you just own it? And you've got the most reputable and glamorous and well-known brand. How is there hope for anyone else in luxury real estate? So if I'm paying you $1 billion to coach me, what would you say? What's my hope?
Your hope is to slowly but surely increase the size of the pie. There's enough to go around for everybody. You're not taking business from anyone. I'm going to do the business I'm going to do. You're going to do the business that you're going to do. And guess what? Because you're brand new, you're probably willing to do business that I don't want to do because I did it already a long time ago. You're going to pitch your heart out for a $500,000 studio on 71st in York that faces a brick wall because you want that first sale. You need that resume credit. You've never done it before. I wouldn't even go. I wouldn't even meet that seller. It's not worth my time, right? Because I have higher quality problems now with higher quality expectations. So you as a brand new agent, you're amazing, right? You're competing with people exactly like you, right? It's the sales that way is not like sports. You know, you're a rookie quarterback in football. You mentioned the Super Bowl. You play your first year. You're competing against Patrick Mahomes on the same level. You're all the same. You got to win more games than that guy. And otherwise, he's going to beat you. You can complain that he's been doing it longer, but you're also a starting quarterback. There's only so many of you. You've been chosen. Do it. In sales, your goal is to make money and survive. So you might say, I want to make at least $100,000 my first year. I need to live. You're not going to play on the RyanSerhant football field. You wouldn't try to compete. You're not going to go to Extel and say, hey, I know you're interviewing Ryan to sell this entire building with a sellout of $1 billion. I think you should also interview me. We're equals. We're the exact same. I've never done this before. I'm from the mountains. Where's the building, by the way? Right? You wouldn't do that. And so you have an amazing opportunity. It actually gets harder as you get more successful because the competition gets so much greater for the type of business you want to do. And you got to be much more careful with your brand. The things that I do, if you go to my social, they help me on some days, they hurt me on others.
Okay, that's where I wanted to go because I'm going to ask this question from a couple of different angles. Okay, so you hit it from a new standpoint, but I want to hit it from in your book, okay, in your book that's sitting behind you and sitting behind me on branding. You're not in there saying, okay, guys, this is what I do. Do the exact same thing. Color your hair to look like mine. Get lifts on your shoes so that you're 6'3", because I would have a few inches to go. And totally model me. I'm assuming you don't say that in the book, and I'm assuming you wouldn't because you're also saying this is about come back to core identity. My core identity is not you, it's Kevin.
Yeah.
So you're saying to pull that out and that I could have equal opportunity because not like back to what you just said. Some of what you do helps you. Some of it hurts you. There's got to be a certain percentage of people that don't like you or don't want to work with you. You're not their style. Fair?
Yeah, no. We all have a unique DNA. One of the original brand books that was written a long, long time ago, I think it was just called The Brand of You. It's you. You're the only person like you. It's all you. So stick to what makes you you. You are whatever you want to sell. Real estate and what? What is your and? What's that and that makes you unique? What's that and that's going to enable you to find a initial group of humans to emotionally connect with you on? And maybe it's real estate and you're a mom. You love being a mom. Awesome. You get to connect with other moms. You get to relate to them. They get to relate to you. You're a working mom. Great. That's even more specific. You get to relate to them. They get to relate to you, and they want to work with you because they want to support you because now you've built a community. Content to commerce was popular 10 years ago. Today, it's community to content to commerce. The community tells you what type of brand content to create, and then with a know, like, and trust factor, they may do commerce with you. So that new person, right? They don't have to, I tell, don't be me. The worst thing to do is try to be anybody else, right? The job is to be you and to be the absolute best version of yourself. And more than that, be you 2 years from now, but be that person today.
Let me ask you this. I hadn't thought about this, but if you looked, I mean, you've got to have, even though you're at the top of the heap where you are, you've got some competition. There's other people who are really great in the luxury real estate arena that are, again, not you, that may not be as charismatic, may not be as outgoing, may not be as male, gray hair, whatever it is. They're not you. They're even if you go to the extrovert and introvert, can I be an introvert? Can I be a more soft spoken, less charismatic, but with a strong brand and compete with you?
Sure, absolutely. A lot of my top competition I deal with is not me. I am, if you ask most people in my industry, I'm way too crazy. I have way too much energy. I'm way too out there. I'm way too self-obsessed. I'm way too on social. Some of the biggest real estate agent in the country is a guy in Palm Beach that has a flip phone, but no one knows what he looks like. I mean, I know what he looks like. I've done deals with him, but he's a private guy. He operates in the billionaire class, private. He does deals if you know him, and that is it. That's his thing. That's his brand. We're talking about him right now. Clearly, it's working. That's his brand. There's other people who are very, very quiet. There's other people who've chosen just to be thought leaders. Mm-hmm. They have no idea they have no Instagram. They have no TikTok. They have a very strong LinkedIn, right? They have strong opinions. So you do what makes sense for you. You got to pick your platform, right? Pick your platform. And if your platform is just the phone, that's your platform, then great. Unfortunately, I didn't have that option. I didn't have any contacts. I didn't have any leads. I was a unemployed actor / hand model. I needed to pay rent. Yeah. That was it. And then when the TV show happened, like there was the only people reaching out to me when Million Dollar Listing happened were crazy people, from wherever in the world. And like no one reached out to me to buy real. When was the last time you were watching TV and you're like, honey, pass the phone. I'm calling that guy right now. I want to buy money. I want to spend money with him. You don't do that. Right? You want to use your own person, someone you're comfortable with at your level. You don't watch CNBC and then call those traders. You're not like calling Jim Cramer. Like, no, he's on TV. I'm going to call my buddy Jack. He trades. I'm going to tell him to do what Jim Cramer just told me to do. And so, you have the opportunity to build today on the platform that is unique to you, as long as you can post with purpose. Right? If you can act with purpose and you have a clear call to action. I see so many people creating content left and right with no clear call to action. Like, I don't even know what you're doing. Just trying to get followers? Like, yes, but there's so many people to follow now. Why follow you?
It is, when you come to we're talking about, this shows what drives you. I mean, we're talking about what drives you in your business, and we're talking about your brand. I mean, this is what drives people to you, is your brand. Separate that. I know it's an elementary aspect for you, Ryan, but separate that from marketing. Marketing, we do a lot out there. I've done that. I don't know how many businesses where we've gone out there. I've had a great opportunity. I've leveraged a connection, whatever. We've done great marketing. We've driven people somewhere and nothing happened, or very little, or not as much as we wanted to, because we didn't have a brand. So when I'm talking about, driving, what drives people to you, it is the imagery. It is back to you. It's the emotion. What is the emotion that I'm eliciting? And to be candid, and all these years of podcasting, in the past, I haven't had to do that a whole lot. I mean, you can kind of get my flavor here, and everybody says I ask really insightful questions and I pull things out. But I mean, there's other people that do that well. And now I realize I've got to give them something to associate with. There's somebody else interviewing. Well, you're going to be, interviewed a zillion times for this on different people. And you're going to be on, whatever shows. It may be Simon Sinek or, Jay Shetty or Lewis Howes or Mel Robbins or whatever. They all are different than me. But like what you said, if I don't say who me is, if I don't include my own perspective, then I'm going to be, the best podcaster who nobody ever heard of. And so it's requiring me. I'm a student of this, right? I mean, because I've had to do it. I've had to get help and saying, okay, dude, you're a pro cyclist. You got 100 kids. You live up in the mountains. We can use that. It's the authentic you. We can use that to help you. And sure enough, it actually works. But I didn't want to do that. I wanted to can't I just do what I do well and that be enough? And
sometimes
it seems like more seldom these days.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you have to be relatable, right? It's no longer good enough to just be good enough,
Yeah. And,
right?
yeah.
And I don't think any of us have come this far to just come this far.
Yeah.
And so you have to create that awareness, which is the whole reason I focus on branding for people that are looking to sell something and grow their following and grow their audience. You talk about the difference between branding and marketing, right? The difference is pull versus push. Marketing is you pushing your agenda, your message onto eyeballs. You're going to run ads. You're going to do specific posts, right? You're going to market yourself. I'm marketing. I'm doing the marketing. I'm doing it. Branding is you are creating a specific message that is out there that is going to pull people organically into what you ordinarily would have marketed, but now they're there naturally. So, I look at like your social channel, for example. Okay. And what it reminds me of, and it's great, it's awesome, tons of content, fresh, unique, it's there. I totally get it when I get there. But what it reminds me of is a realtor who only ever posts photos of houses. Right. And they're like, well, that's what I do. That's what I'm promoting. Like, yeah, but all you're doing is marketing. You're just showing me photos of things you're trying to sell. You're showing me clips of you talking. Like, I get it. You're a podcaster. I get it. Or a car salesman, right? They show photos. I just sold this car. Dude, if I wanted to follow cars, I probably wouldn't follow a guy who sells cars here and there. I'd probably go follow, I don't know, at Cars or Porsche or Mercedes or something like that. What makes you unique is not what you do. It's you doing the thing. And so people have to connect with you personally. And I saw that with $1 Million Listing being on TV. I was on a TV show where I sold real estate for 10 years. Okay. A decade, full decade. Aired in over 100 countries. Grew millions of followers from it, right? Built my career and my brand on top of it. Not once has anyone ever stopped me on the street, come up to me in person, ever, and said, hey, you're the guy that got $2,000 a square foot for 36 Gramercy Park East. Thank you for reminding me of that. Never once does anyone talk to me about the real estate. They all come up to me and they're like, dude, I watched you get married. Oh, how's your baby? Oh, that was so funny that one time when you did that one thing. That was so crazy. Hey, how come your hair? I have premature gray hair. How you don't dye it? Oh man, you gave me the confidence just to be me. It's all emotional and it's all relatable. No one, other than other podcasters, can relate to you doing a podcast.
Yeah.
But they can relate to you as you in your atmosphere, with your family, doing a podcast, right? Now, someone then says to me, well, I don't want my family to be out there. Okay, so you have to make that decision, right? You don't have to. But then you've got to figure out what else is your relatable hook.
Yeah.
Right? What is that thing that people are going to remember and associate with and relate with? Because they're going to say, you know what? I like this guy because he's like me. He talks like me. Look at like comedians. Stand-up comedians are super popular on social. They don't, in part because they talk about their relationships. You watch it because it's funny because you can relate. And now their stories are usually your life on steroids. You're like, man, thank God that never happened to me. But you can relate. You can relate to having kids. You can relate to having a spouse. You can relate to coming home drunk that one time. Now, you didn't come home drunk and light the house on fire, okay? Right. But you can kind of relate, and it's funny, and it makes you feel good. So I want to follow that guy more. Even though he never posts photos of his wife, you have no idea what his family looks like. They're super, super, super private, but it's relatable. Humans want to relate to other humans. I'm doing a new TV show now, right, for Netflix. It comes out in the next couple months, and it's a real estate show, but the real estate is the skeleton. It is an occupational docuseries set in this building in Soho that happens to have a real estate brokerage inside, and it's about the people and their stories. And how one of the agents, goes through a major trauma, and how a couple of the other agents don't make it. And you start to watch it, and you're like, wait, what am I? Is this a real estate? Jeez. Is that a listing they're in right now? But damn, what just happened? Holy, how do they live in New York City? What? How much did that dinner just cost her? Was that $400 for lunch just because they live in New York City? Babe, you gotta watch this show. These people are insane. It's human, right? People just want to watch other humans, and that's the easiest, clearest, simplest advice I could give to anybody. Is if you're trying to build your following and it's not working, it's not that it's not working. Is that you're not giving anyone anything to follow, right? You're not giving anyone to follow, because anybody can do anything. Like you said, right? There's 80,000 real estate agents in New York City.
Yeah.
We can all post apartments. Everyone's done it already. Everyone's asked questions already. Everyone's done the podcast. Everyone's done it. So what makes you you?
Okay. I feel like
Wait, how many kids do you have?
9.
You have 9 kids?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Why? What happened? You just kept going?
Man.
You got to 6 and you're like, babe, let's
we were trying
going.
to beat the neighbors. No, it's my Amish roots, maybe. No, it's part of my story of driving. I didn't know where I was going, but I don't know. We didn't have a plan. We had 7 biological. Then we got involved in a Native American reservation and some kids in need, and we ended up adopting a couple. And it's part of the story. I'm listening.
What's the age range?
28 to 11.
Man.
Yeah.
That's how I remember you.
I
right?
know.
And you have an earring. You have an earring. You have an earring. 1 earring. And you have 9 kids. And you adopted 2 off a Native American. What the? Like, that's. I've been talking to you. What's it? For an hour and 10 minutes, the first time you bring this up.
Well, I'm thinking about, as you're talking about social, which I've done well with my podcast. I have not done well. We have nothing happening on social. So we're finally looking at it. And what little I've done, well, it's interesting as I put all the podcast stuff up on there. I just a couple weeks ago thought because I was counseled in it. So out on I was out snowshoeing and they said, just take a video, man, talk about something. And so I did. And it's not huge numbers, especially not compared to you, but it was 10 times.
Yeah, of course.
The viewership there, but I'm still not sharing life. And, I do a lot of athletic stuff. I'm an elite mountain biker and I was a pro cyclist and this stuff that I don't talk about much, but I mentioned on the show a couple times. I didn't talk about it, Ryan, but I mentioned that I had a wreck last September.
Oof.
In all my years of pro cycling, whatever, never a wreck like this. It was a mountain bike wreck down in New Mexico.
Yeesh.
I broke 7 bones.
Oh, one for every biological child.
One for every biological kid. I collapsed the lung.
Oh.
But I didn't talk about it. And well, I mentioned it on the show and I got so many responses from people through channels they couldn't even figure out how to get to me about that. And so I'm hearing you and you're right. I don't share life. Even this, you got me thinking along the lines of I could be sharing. So we're doing a masterclass on what Kevin could do better, hosted by RyanSerhant. There's a reason why I have everybody on the show. There's a reason you're on the show. It's not just because Rory Vaden said, hey, here's a cool guy. It's because I looked at your stuff and go, man, I'm realizing this in my own industry that branding is so important. So you're here because of my personal interest. I could be talking about this for weeks ahead of time. Well, guys, man, we're working on my own branding. We have to do it in podcasting if you don't, connect with people. And so here's a guy who's killing it. I'm going to have him on the show to learn. I could be telling my own story. Am I tracking?
Yeah, you want me to? I mean, I've got thoughts for you. If you want me to just give them to you,
please.
Hold on. Let me pull your stuff up. 1 second. Let me pull it up. Okay.
Well, and again, I'm going to say I benefited because I've been doing this for a while. I was associated with Ziegler, and I got out there. I've got a lot of credibility, and so the show grew. That's where I got to. But I'll be honest, the show also stopped growing, and that's when we started looking and going, okay,
yeah,
what am I about?
Listen,
I got to have a perspective to put along with the good podcasting.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing and the easiest thing to do is starting. It's really hard for people to just start, which is why most people don't do the thing that they said they're going to do. right? Because how do I start? I don't know. I'm busy. I have another job. How we can do that? But once you start, it's super easy because what's the worst case scenario? You go back to where you were yesterday.
Fair, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's the easiest and the hardest part of starting anything. So if I look at your social, let's just look at Instagram for a second. This is coming from the author of Brand It Like Serhant. I'd say, let me give you this feedback based on kind of the way I always break things down when I think about personal brand. Okay?
Yeah.
Because you have a product. Your product is podcasting amongst everything else that you do. But then you also are a person. So you've got your personal brand. And when I think of podcasters, I think of the person. Right? I want to listen to that person ask questions and talk. Right. And hopefully I get to hear their opinion. And maybe if I like their opinions with their guests, regardless of what the guest is talking about, I just want to go listen to a conversation with Kevin, my buddy Kevin. Yeah. That's what you want people to watch. So core identity, consistent content, shouting it from the mountaintop. Those are the 3 phases of building, maintaining, and growing a brand. You got to understand really clear to the core. You have to be really consistent about what you put out there so you can be clear, concise, and memorable for the know, like, and trust, like we talked about. And then you have to shout every success you do for the mountaintop, which you do really well, because that 3rd phase, every good interview clip, right? Every good clip you have, you put it out there, right? You share it. So if I go back to core identity, I would say as I look at this, the hardest thing for me to know is I clearly see that you're a guy who puts a camera directly at his face and you ask questions to other people. But I can't tell, ideally, the minute I get there, who your ideal customer is, who your ideal target is. And when I go to your feed, you do that with the type of cover, right? The real cover, because all your real covers are just your face. So I get it. You're a podcaster, you got the microphone, it's just your face. But I can't tell easily who your ideal target is. If you look at other people, whether they're YouTubers, influencers, whatever, those cover photos are the things that are hooking that customer. So for me, I might be doing a video where it's all my face, but I'm talking about, I don't know, my audience is mostly sales and real estate focused. So it might be about a certain listing or something. That real cover is not my face because no one knows what they're going to get. You got to hook them in a hot second. Right. So the real covers throw me off a bit because it's almost like I have to do the work when I go to your page to understand what I'm there for. So that's 1. 2, as I watch them, once I get into it, they're super insightful. But I think you lose traction in the first couple seconds because there's always a pause. Like you do a pause at the beginning of each video. And I think if you were to look at the insights that Meta can give you, you'll probably see a drop off because people have no patience. Okay. Another thing that I see is I think you could update the bold name line with your 2 to 3 word brand name. Like instead of just the name, you can say, example, professional, development speaker, or you could be stronger with both your bio and then the person's bios that you're talking about to get really excited about them in the captions. I think in terms of consistency, right, diversifying that content mix to also include still photos, carousels, live videos. Right now, your Instagram it's gonna be fine. It's great. You have a couple thousand followers. It's like life is fine. But if you want to grow it, and that's your goal, people are multidimensional, and so your social feed needs to be multidimensional. It can't just be one thing. Right now, it's one dimensional, just reels, and it's just your face over and over and over. Okay. I would also, and you're probably listening to this right now, like, what the shit did I sign up for? I would get rid of the black bars on reels. I would make the content black bars. When I see it, I'm like, man, I didn't realize I was still in 1997. Right. I see those and I would go full bleed the way you and I are right now. So full bleed is full screen. People operate vertically. Okay. And then I would come up with something, and you can change this all the time. But remember, so many people are podcasters. Same way as for me, man. I compete with millions and millions of realtors, and no one needs one. You don't need one. You can sell your house on your own. Go buy a house on your own. You don't need me. You don't have to pay me. Go do it on your own. So I have to find a way to be memorable, whether I like it or not. I wish people would just call me and wire me money, and I could stay in bed. That would be awesome. I wish I could sleep in. That would be great. Like I don't want to wake up at 4:30. Okay, but when I look at you, I think maybe what if I'm just making this up? The same way I'm kind of going through your thing right now. What if there was a segment of every podcast where you told the guests what you don't like about them, and that's what you put out there? Like, hey, this is my, this is my moment where I go into Killer Kevin. Now, this could be the stupidest, worst idea ever, but I would take that idea and I would think about what is unique to you along those lines, and people would then listen to it and watch it, and they'd wait for the moment where like, oh no, this is when he does the thing. This is when he tells the guests what he doesn't like about them, and the guest always gets weird and uncomfortable. That's oh yeah, no, I don't like that about that guy either. It's relatable. Right. Anyway, those are my hot off the top of the dome thoughts about the Instagram feed. And I think the more relatable and the more diverse you can make it, and the more memorable, that's an immediate fast track to the first 10,000. And that's probably the goal.
Well, man, thank you. First off, and tell me about the personal aspect, though, like you talked about, that people don't come up to you. That was a big deal when you just shared that. They don't come up and go, oh man, it was so cool when I saw you sell that house.
Never.
Or whatever.
Never.
They come up, and amongst all that, because I actually looked at your Instagram feed today, and your latest post is some, incredible place, and you're doing your thing and showcasing it, and that's great.
No one will ever talk to me about it. I do that because it's required of me as part of my listing agreement with that developer.
Okay, well there you go. So, but you got that. It gives you credibility. It shows what you're doing. So that would be like me putting up a podcast and the clips there. And you're saying, but what they comment is, and I saw that too. I went through your stuff, and it shows you and your wife, and you and your kid. I can't remember where you were, but I'm looking at the personal side, because I want to know you. Because if I don't like you, I'm not going to have you on the show.
Yeah, and you don't care. You're like, dude, I don't care about the real. Everyone's got real estate. I'll just go to YouTube. It's what happened to $1 Million Listing, right? It's on Bravo. No one had smartphone. iPhones came out like a few years before. It's people weren't surfing all over. You wouldn't have YouTube. YouTube was reruns and slime and kid stuff, right? And so if you wanted to see wild real estate, you had to watch a show like The Secret Lives of the Rich and Famous. Right? You had to watch a show like $1 Million Listing. Now it's everywhere. Everywhere. You can go on my feed. I can see it in 2 seconds. I don't need to watch you show it to me, but I'll watch you for you. Right? If you are interesting, even if you're so uninteresting, you're interesting. That's interesting. I'll watch that.
Okay.
Right? So what are those things that make you unique?
Tell us where we would go. So we're still on core identity, which, folks, again, I want you to know. I mean, the book, this is what he goes through. He's going through the chapters, right here. We're going through the segments of the book. So get the book, and that's what you work through. And man, I got to say, I love the way that you crafted the book to take us through exercises, which I'm going to get to one in a minute. So core identity, though, that's where we start. Tell us, so you just talked about some aspects of that. Tell us where we go wrong with it. One is to not share it. So one, if you're not sharing your core identity, that's it. But now let's say, okay, I got it, man. I got it. So I'm going to go start putting stuff that's more personal, try to connect to people. Tell me the top areas where we go wrong in doing that.
Oh, sure. I mean, you have to be careful too these days about oversharing. Like why share anything at all? Like, my dad doesn't have social media because in his mind, there is literally no benefit. You never saw my dad on any of our TV shows. I had a whole separate TV show about my wedding. Millions of people watched it. No dad in the show at all. Right? Because there is no call to action for him that would ever be worth it. There's no purpose. He doesn't want to see himself on. There would be no benefit. So if you're gonna do it anyway, because you think it's good for your business, it's good for your podcast, then who are you trying to reach? And the answer can't be everyone, I guess. Right? There's got to be a niche. What type of interview do you do? What is unique about it? Right? Is it what drives you? Like when I Google search what drives you, I can't find you, right? But if I look for what motivates you, that's the term that keeps popping up. I would take whatever spend you're giving to a social team to consult with you or whatever you're doing, right? And I would bid or build out content for what drives you with Kevin Miller for that search term for more visibility online, right? Your name, Kevin Miller, is a super, is a normal name. You have a normal name.
I have a very brand vanilla name. Yes.
Yeah. It's Kevin, lots of Kevins, lots of Millers, right?
I'm going to change my last name to Serhant, actually.
No. That's dude. It's always the things that you think are your biggest weaknesses that end up becoming strengths. Like I have I registered my last name because there's 12 of us, because Serhant was such a weirdo name from Bohemia that then became Czechoslovakia. No one has it, right? In Turkey, there are Serhans, Sirhan, right? There's Serhant, Serhan. To get Serhant on Instagram, I had to find this guy named Tesaris Serhan, and his Instagram handle was Serhan, and then his first initial T, so it was Serhant.
Right.
And I had to find him, and I had to donate a lot of money to a children's orphanage in Istanbul to get him to release that handle to me by September 15th, 2020, the day we launched the company, because I wanted that fucking so bad, right? I had to find that guy. It was like, hey, please don't look me up. You're going to charge me more. But I would really, and he had posted once in like 2014. So it was like a handle that he was just holding. But your name is common, right? And so it's hard for you to buy ads and bid against Kevin Miller.
Right.
It's hard. But what drives you, Kevin Miller, right, is then an easier phrase, because no one else is going to bid against that except for you. And that will then drive awareness, and that'll drive, greater attention. We could talk about your website too, but I don't want to I don't want to ruin your day. I'm just trying to be nice.
No, it's relevant because people listening, they listen to me. So to say, okay, they're listening to me because I've done some things right. So my ego's intact. And I'm talking with RyanSerhant.
Listen, the point of this right now, just to make this clear, and my dad always did this with me too.
Yeah.
And it sucked when I was little, but I understand it later. It is a waste of his time and my time to sit there and tell me about how great I am.
Yeah.
Like, what do you need? A pat on the back? Go to your mother. That's what he would say. It is the most beneficial use of our time together to give each other constructive criticism that can make your life so much better. Being told how great of a podcaster you are, being told, Ryan, you're the greatest realtor ever. Thanks. Awesome. Immediately leaves my brain. Doesn't help me in any way, shape, or form other than what? Maybe I need an emotional boost or something. It doesn't do anything for me. You know what's helpful for me? If someone comes to me and they're like, hey, just want to let you know, I almost hired you for a building, but I didn't because X, Y, and Z. Well, that sucks, but thank you for telling me. I'm going to fix X and Y. Z, I'm not going to fix because I actually think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So I take the best, leave the rest.
Yeah.
But that's what we're here for, right?
I would say, no, go constructive criticism, because I am so good. I got however many hours here with RyanSerhant, who makes a lot per hour. So I'm that good. And I got to get him and get critiqued on air. No, because other people can go to it, so they can hear this show in whatever we posted a couple weeks from now, and they can go look at the website. Well, I might have made changes by then, but you can go see the evolution. No, this is great. Please.
So I guess when I go to your website, hold on.
Yep.
Let me switch now. God damn it! All right, here we go. All right, core. Okay, let's go under. So let me go about it the same way. I think that's just simpler.
Sure.
Because it's also the way my brain thinks, which is why I broke out the book into 3 phases. And I just want to make people understand, like, I am not a professional author. I mean, I guess I am because I've written 3 of these things now, but I don't sell books to make money. Like I write them because I have this itch, and my goal is that people will read them or listen to them. I did the audiobook to better themselves and help themselves. And having people come up to me on the street and say, hey, I just want to let you know, I read Big Money Energy, your second book that you wrote during COVID, saved my life.
Yeah.
That means a lot to me, more than someone coming up to me like, dude, cool book. I bought 100 copies, like, okay, great. Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it, obviously.
Well, I do like the book. I review, well, you can see them. I've had, you're the 250th something guest that I've had, and I've had the big ones on here. So I see a lot of books. Man, I do like it. It was really entertaining and informative. But I really love how you make the point and then come to the exercise and make us work through it. I worked through it. So we'll come to it in a minute, but what would my headline be? Well, son of a gun. I had to work on that. I'm still thinking about it. It's brilliant. I loved it. So
yeah. What's your mission? What's your vision? What are your like? These are things that people don't think about.
Yeah.
Because you know why? Because it's hard. It's hard. I don't know. It's hard.
I want to just sit here, do my art, and I have, a million downloads. I want Joe Rogan class, downloads. I do actually. So help.
So there you go.
Yeah.
So if I go to your website, right?
Yep.
So now you fixed the bidding. People can go on social. Now they go on the website. They can Google you. They can find you.
Yep.
Now I go there. So I'm looking. So core identity, consistent content, shout it from the mountaintop. Right. Those are the three phases. That's how we break it down. Right. For any person or any product. Mm-hmm. So core identity. When was the last time you updated this website? Like when did you design it and put it out?
Oh, it's got some stuff that's fairly recent.
No, but not stuff, not content. Like when the design, the design here of this website. When did you make it?
Yeah, there's some of it that's been within the past year,
but not content. Like when this website and the format, right? That you have put out there. When did you build this?
Oh gosh, man, the original one was a while ago. I can't even tell you. Yeah.
So kevinmiller.co, which I'm looking at right now,
yep.
right?
Yep.
That's got you there, right? When you know what drives you, what you want, right? And you scroll down, I think there's cool moments, right? I think it's pretty. It's all here. Hold on, I'm just going through it right now. I'm going to do this with you live. What
Sweet.
Drives you, get the book, featured guests. Look at all these pretty people. How many of these people do I know? Seth Godin. There you go. Super, super cool. I think it looks good, right? So I think the design looks good. I would say the one thing that I see here that I think people are really, really looking for today, especially look at what you and I are doing right now, right? We're visually talking.
Yeah.
And I think people really like visuals. And I think there's a strong power to video today. The first thing that I would say here is if your core identity is podcasting,
yep,
right? Which is audio and visual.
Yeah.
I cannot figure out when I get to your, maybe if I click here, no, it's just the homepage. Everything here is static. So it's just a lot of writing and it's a lot of images. There's you on a bike. Look at that. Look at those triceps. I got to go to your podcast page or click out of here. But everything on the first page, there's no video, there's no audio. And that's your whole identity. Like I guess I could click out. I could go to the pod. Oh, now your face changed. Now I got the earring. Nice. So I got this. I got all the stats. I got everything. But I got to leave your website, which is your personal website. I have to leave your website unless I go to one of these inner pages and scroll down where you've got a Spotify plugin, it looks like here, right? So it takes me a second to get there. If I'm building your website brand new today and I want people to know immediately what's this guy's core identity and I get there, it is narrow. Okay. I think the messaging in here is broad, right? I think it's broad, which is good. It's great. I mean, again, I'm not giving you all the positives. I could talk to you for an hour about how awesome you are, but I don't think that's not a great use of our time.
How can I be better, Ryan? Yes.
Right. So I think things are broad. Right? I think it's broad messaging. I would narrow in on why people should listen to you. Here are all the people you're interviewing. Great. They've all been interviewed by other people.
Yep.
Why listen to your interview? What makes you unique? Right? That goes into that personal core identity for you. Right? And then how do I understand from people, hey, when I think Kevin Miller, I get visual and I get audio, not static images of the way you want to present yourself and you looking cute and like looking away, right? So that's the first thing. Without going into every single thing, I think the navigation bar call to actions I think are fine, right? Blog, podcast, community, book, story, speaking. I think that's all fine. That's all there. I would leverage and kind of upsell against them probably, right? I might just I might just move podcasts right to the middle because that's your big thing. And then I might do the hamburger off to the side that has everything else. Because I don't know how many people, if you look at the analytics, are really coming in here and clicking on story or clicking on, clicking on everything else. I think it's fine. I think community is really, really important, right? It's probably an important part of your business. So I would probably maybe drive that harder. Like I have to do the work to find the masterminding. I got to do the work to find consulting.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so you're making your audience the same way you do on Instagram. You're making your audience do the work, and no one wants to do work.
Yeah.
They just want to be told what to do. Right. I think your podcast testimonials, I think are cool. But I don't think anyone actually cares about how great you are as an interviewer. I think the podcast testimonials you have here are all about you being awesome.
Okay.
Right? I don't think anyone, I think the fact that you have a website and 70 million downloads and all these people agreed to join your podcast, it's show, don't tell, right? That's what they say. Like, show, don't tell. Facts tell, stories sell. I don't think you need to verify that you're an awesome podcaster with these testimonials. I think I get it. I see it. You have a whole website. You built a website about people agreed to go on your podcast. Clearly, you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
Right. I want to understand how you center listener testimonials about what makes your podcast different. What makes it interesting. Right. I would listen. I would get testimonials from people who've listened to your podcast or have written to you and said, I was on path X. Because of listening to you, I am now on path Y. I want to be transformed if I'm going to spend any amount of time listening to you, because I could listen to anyone else. Just like you said, you named other podcasters earlier on this conversation, right? So I got to make a choice. I only have so much time. I got a family, I got kids, I got to go to the gym, I got a job, I have to go to the bathroom at some point. Maybe I'll listen to you then. I'm going to associate you with bowel movements because that's the only time I have to be able to listen to you. So why you?
Yeah.
And then as I look at this too, I would condense all offers, okay? Like all the things you offer here, you offer a lot, which I think is awesome. Into, again, I would go visual. Right. I would go visual. I think maybe what I'm really missing on here, and I'm doing this live with you right now.
Yeah.
Maybe what I would do on here, I'd love to see like a sizzle reel, right? A sizzle reel that saves me a lot of time, right? That in 30 seconds or less, 45 seconds or less, really highlights the best interviews you've done, like really crazy moments, the fun moments where you were stumped or the guest said, oh my God, I can't believe you asked me that question. Like I want to watch those interviews. I want to watch interviews where the guest says, oh God, I don't want to talk to you anymore. Oh, I want to watch that, right? I would show you speaking, like a moment of you speaking. I would show you badass cycling kips, you with not one, but then the camera pulls out and there's 7 kids. And then 2 more because you said, you know what? I'm going to supersize my family. I think there's not enough ownership for you or not. I would say there's not a clear enough brand story of everything you've accomplished. I think you scatter it across everything you do. Maybe it's because you're trying to be humble, but by trying to be humble or by trying to like be classy, I think it ends up just being confusing. Right? I think it just shows like you've got a bunch of different ways to work with you, and just you get to choose. So you, customer, you do the work. I'm here. I'm available. You can my community. I can consult. You can listen to. You can read over. Here's my story. You do the work. You do it, and that probably as a consumer, I'm like, all right, what's on Netflix? I don't know. You do that. I don't know. All right, I'm done. Those are my thoughts.
Right. I want to give you an applause. No, it's great because I'm competing now in an area where there's always something new. Every time they open their podcast player, whatever it is, there's a new show, probably by some celebrity. And it's interesting. And even if it's not any good, it's going to get a bunch of ratings and a bunch of downloads for a while. And it's going to take people away. And with Apple Podcasts new deal now, if they're away for so long, they end up unsubscribed. So I'm not going to come back. We've got to give them, I got to do better than doing good, as you said.
Yes.
In essence.
Yes.
So this is, but I want to hone in on what you just said though. Because you said, unless you're trying to be humble. Yeah. And you speak to that. There's some place in your book, and you mentioned that you get that there are some people who don't want to, splash their family across, and they don't want to talk about themselves. They don't want to brag. I think you used the word brag, which I would say, yeah, there is that. And yet over here, when I'm vetting you, I totally get what you're saying right now. I do want to see what you have done, what you're doing. I want to see the shouting from the mountaintop. But I'm over here trying to be humble, and I hear you say, well, it's okay, fine. But if this is a space you're going to be in, you got to tell people what you're doing. That humility thing, that's a thing that I run into with myself and with a lot of people in this space. So play with that a little bit.
Yeah, of course. Listen, I think you're an athlete, and the cycling is crazy. I think you're a dad, right? I think you've also chosen a rural life over an urban life. Those are three things that jump out at me, and I would lean in hard on those, whether you want to show kids or show life or not, right? You're a dad to 9. It's like that. Unfortunately for you, that is super unique.
Mm-hmm.
and you talk about it, but it is yet to be a part of your core identity to the public. And maybe there's something to play with there. These are all just things for you to noodle on. I could be totally wrong on all this stuff, in which case, no problem. But hopefully maybe some of these things are little sparks in that ignition to push things forward. Do you do that? Do you pick a word of the year?
I haven't this year.
Yeah. I've always found that to be helpful. Total non sequitur to our current conversation, but it just popped into my brain.
So your word for the year, Ryan?
Oh, momentum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Oh, because last year was brutal. It was the worst, man. Interest rates went to 8%.
Yeah.
Last year was the worst housing market in global history since 1995, post saving and loan crisis.
Okay.
And Desert Storm, right? Uh-huh. So, more homes sold in 2008 and 2009 than sold in 2023. So it was a tough year to be in any real estate business, right? It was tricky. I had just started my company in 2020. We were good in 21 and half of 22. And then all of a sudden I'm like, whoa, do I have to fire people? Do I have to do what I've always said? Hire fast, fire faster, but do it in real life now? Ugh. Like, it was just a brutal year. And then the end of last year, I saw a glimmer of hope for the future, which really was just like, no year is ever the same. After the worst year ever comes at least something a little bit better. So fine, screw it. 2024, I'm calling it 2020 more. So we're going 2020 more, and my word is momentum, and my animal is falcon. And so I bring, and where it's helpful in my world, right? I have 130 employees on payroll. Okay. I have 550 agents in 8 states. So I have to consistently, that's a lot for me. It's not a lot for, I don't know, Jeff Bezos, right? But it's a lot it's the most I've ever had. And I have to consistently motivate them to wake up every day and say, I want to still work for that guy.
Yeah.
I want to still fight for that guy. And so I get to go into staff meetings and say, how are you being a falcon today? How are you being fast and tenacious and not dying? Like, how are you using your talons to kill, but also being graceful and blissful in the air, right? How do you look really, really big from far away, but you're actually kind of a small bird when you get closer, right? You're not a bald eagle. Bald eagle's a freaking cow. Okay. And then momentum is every day. Do not forget. Our word is momentum. Just keep the momentum going. The minute you think that you're good, this is not cruise control. Cruise control for our business in year 4, it will kill you, right? More businesses die in year 4 than any other year ever. And that's a scary statistic. So it's like, just keep pedal to the metal and we got to get through it.
Why'd you ask me my word?
I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know.
Fishing.
I was thinking.
part of this is, part of the podcast, these conversations are me. I mean, I'm here asking for myself. This isn't just to have you. I mean, you're going to go talk about your book with a lot of people. I'm talking about it in relation to life, to me, it's almost like join Kevin on his journey is part of the podcast. It's not just being another mouthpiece. There's just too many people. I would be bored if we're just getting up talking about something I'm not interested in. I'm just bored. Yeah. I love having these conversations. Kind of you talking about that. That's what should be showcased on the site. You're right. I mean, there's few things more fun. This is like a mountain bike ride for me, is coming and having a discussion about a conversation about something that matters. This is not, I hope you get that flavor. It's not just a mere interview. I'm not just going through the tactics of your book and going, so tell me about this. I never look at the questions that they send beforehand. Here are the questions you might ask Ryan or whatever. I got my own questions. I'm here for that. And I want that to come through. I want that to come through, from a brand standpoint, which is back to the core identity, which we all have. I feel like you saying that in our work, in what we're doing, we all have hopefully we have something that we are driven by in our work that we care about. And if you hate your work, I don't know where to go with that, but I guess you could talk about that. But, we have something that's driving us. What is that core identity? And you're saying what I see you doing. I've always thought about caricatures. You go to a fair or something like that, and they're going to look at you and they're going to exaggerate anything they can find about you. That's what you're saying we got to do. Take the core identity, and now we have to pull it out. And to us, it may seem normal. I mean, I got 9 kids. That didn't wake up one morning. It didn't surprise me. So it's just normal. Being a pro athlete, it was normal for me. I live up in a national forest at 9,300 feet above sea level. That's just where I live.
Where do you live? Where are you right now?
If you've ever been to Colorado Springs and you're looking up at Pikes Peak, there's a pass that goes up. So I would
drive through Pikes Peak. My parents moved to Steamboat Springs when I went to college.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just up past Pikes Peak in a little bedroom community outside of the Springs, and then over a ridge in a national forest.
Perfect.
Well, I can go back. I got a big house. We built a custom house. I mean, it's not big by maybe New York, lavish luxury home, but it's about a 5,000 square foot home with straw bale walls.
What's straw bale?
You'd have to look it up. It's like a post and beam house. And then instead of 2x6s and insulation, we stacked 450 bales of straw around the perimeter. God. And then you stucco it in.
You are such a weird guy. This is just
maybe
crazy.
That should be my handle.
It should be, It's the straw. You live in dude, you should get a bunch of, what is it, like the wolf? I'll huff and I'll puff and blow your house down.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. No, it's there you go.
I think it's awesome though. That is super cool. I could never do what you do though.
Well, and I could never, New York kind of gives me hives, but that's, different. There we go.
Dude, New York gives me hives. Okay. Oh, well, I'm here and I'm I take a Zyrtec every day.
Yeah. Well, again, but different. There we go. The brand, coming back to the core identity, and some people are going to relate to one, some people are going to relate to another. So here you are saying, what is that core identity? What are you about? Why? That's another one of your questions. Why are you about? Go into that because it's the what is one thing. Okay, this is what I do. This is how I do it differently. I got 9 kids, whatever. It's what. But then go into the aspect of brand, into the why. Because we do want to know that. I do want to know I want to know your perspective. If I came on, if there were certain things that I saw about you, I wouldn't have had you on the show.
Why not? I don't know. You live in the mountains, right? It's some of us see mountains. We want to climb them. Some of us drive around them. I am very terrified at the idea of wasted potential. I don't want to be the guy in the cemetery that everyone said, oh man, if he had only tried more, right? I'd rather regret the things I did than the things I never tried. And I like momentum. I like building a snowball and rolling it down the hill and watching it get bigger and seeing what else I can add to it and slapping other things on it. And maybe someone else will come help me build a bigger one and a bigger one. And I don't know, why not? I think I like helping people. I think I like providing a unique environment and place for people to work. And I think I saw opportunity, kind of across our businesses. and I wanted to build. I think we're builders at the end of the day. I definitely didn't start a company because I wanted people to like me. I did it because I wanted to build something. I didn't want to just have a job. I didn't want to just go to work every day and pay taxes. I wanted the opportunity to create, and I don't know another way to create in my professional life than creating your own entity.
Well, let me hit that then. I mean, back to, this is your book, Phase 1, Discover Your Core Identity. Page 53, I'm going to quote you. Your core values, back to the why, your core values are the pulse that runs through everything you do. Your values dictate how clients experience your brand. Okay, I could say that and it can seem like, oh, okay, but then as I question myself as I'm reading it and as I question other brands, I think, man, I don't see that happen. This is not commonplace. What are the core values that run through my brand? They dictate how clients experience me. And I hear you saying to some degree with stuff you found out about me it's not easy to find out. And I should make that clear.
Yeah. Like my company's core values are, first is we amplify together.
Okay.
Right. We support everyone at our low points, and we never let our high points get to our heads. If one of us is behind, we are all behind. And when one of us succeeds, we all do. Yeah. So we can be loud, we can make noise, we can amplify everything and market and brand the way that we do, but we do it together, right? Because what I'm building is a big community, which then supports our hiring and our firing. A lot of the people that I fired do not believe in doing things together. And I didn't know that when they joined. Turned out that they believe that a man can be an island. Well, not here. So you shouldn't work here. You should leave. Right? Our one of our other values is create for tomorrow. Right? We are future obsessed. And we always look forward, because before I know it, this podcast is going to be over. Today's going to end. I can't stop time. Tomorrow's going to show up. So I might as well pay attention to the journey, but build for the destination, and create and bring that future to today.
Mm-hmm.
I could go through all of them if you want me to.
Well, I do. I mean, this is I feel like it's a masterclass in brand. Is what we're doing here, and
this is the longest amount of time I've ever spoken to anyone in my life. By the way, I just looked at the time. I've been talking to you for 2 hours.
Yeah. It's good content.
Is it?
It is good content. I mean, this is where I feel like we're at a place where businesses. I'm seeing this. So in the business of influence, which you're in, I would call you. I mean, you're an influencer. And that's the business that I'm in, that I have that every one of my guests is. I mean, those are the books behind me. Almost everyone has a book, and they're out here and they want to influence people for a reason. There's some value that they hold. There's some benefit that they've experienced in their own lives. Yeah. And they're saying, I want someone else to do that. It's the weight loss thing. I weighed 500 pounds and now I weigh this and my life changed and I'm happy. Here's my old pants. You can see them. I want you so badly to experience that. That's everybody I have on the show. That's me. And so here we are with good intent. We so have a passion for sharing this, or a burden or something that breaks our heart. And we go out, and I have, for myself and for others, it does burden me to see those people and they can't get the message out, and they can't help people because they can't get past these barriers of brand out in the marketplace, that it's so stinking busy. And I'm finding myself having to go, I got to go play. I don't like using the word play the game, because that makes it sound bad. What's a positive way to spin that? You've got to go do the work of communicating, connecting. Yeah. Yeah. Is that fair?
Yeah. You got to
make
noise, right?
And so back to you on brand that you started off with, you're saying this is your foundation. You can be, this is quoted out, you can be the best, but if no one knows about it, does it matter? Today, anything you do is a commodity. I'm paraphrasing out of the book. You can't be the best. You can't be the most unique. And so here we are of going, we've got to give people a reason to align or want to associate with you. I mean, how many of the people that you get as clients are they coming to because they absolutely believe that you're the best realtor on planet Earth? Or do they say, no, that's the kind of guy I want to align with. I want to associate with him. Back to the brand aspect. You drive well, according to Instagram, you at least have a Range Rover, it looks like, or a Land Rover, or a Ferrari or whatever you got. And those are brands. I mean, you didn't get it because it's the best car on planet Earth. There's some reason you wanted to align with that. And so here we are. You're saying this is our foundation. What are your values? What are the core identity? And then we've got to go out there and communicate it. Otherwise, we can be, back to your quote, you can be the best, but if nobody knows about it, does it matter? And I'm saying, no, apparently it doesn't. You're not going to pay the bills.
Or you're somebody who says, yes, I just want to be the best, and I want to do what's best for my family. I don't need anyone else to know that. And if that's what you truly believe, then that's great. That's awesome. If you don't need other people to validate you, then you're a lucky soul. If you don't need other people's validation to pay your bills, then you're a lucky soul. Unfortunately for you and I, you started a podcast that doesn't exist unless other people listen to it.
Yeah.
And I sell real estate and built a couple businesses that do not exist unless people use them. So, my work all day long is get people to use our businesses, get people to keep using our businesses, and then create operational excellence, because that's where profit comes from.
Yeah.
Like, those are my three things. From those three buckets come everything else. That's then all the OKRs. It's all the KPIs. And then, above those are those values, that we were talking about, that I guess I mentioned two of them.
I want to anchor on this one because it's another one that feels paramount along with brand, and you have it in phase 3. So again, we've been talking most of this time about phase 1 of core identity. Phase 2 is consistency. And with you, I'll give people the punchline. It's content. You've got to be putting stuff out and you got to be consistent. So if you're going to use, and you show the 5 families, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, TikTok, whichever ones you're going to use, be consistent.
Yeah.
Be putting stuff out. And then phase 3, shout it from the mountaintop. And you mentioned something that is sticking out to me more than ever. And you call it, well, you explain it, but you call it the art of a good hookup.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. There's a lot of ways to think that one through. It's the art of a good hook, right? The art of a good hook. And one of the things that we work on with people all the time is how to hook someone to get to the ask. So a lot of people are like, well, I just want to make money. I want to get people to use me. So I got to market. I got to advertise. People need to come use me. No problem. So I'm just going to ask everyone everything. No one wants to be asked anything. No one wants to be sold. People want to go shopping with friends. So like people go into stores, look at a bunch of shoes. The retailer says, hey, can I help you? You say, nah, I'm just looking. And then you go home on your couch, see the link for the shoes you saw, send them it to your friends, say, hey, do you like these? Oh, you like them? Okay, I'm going to buy them. Perfect. Done. Sales done. You just didn't do it with the salesperson. You did it with a friend. Yeah. So how do you take somebody and create that friendship? You do 2 things. You find the 2 C's. So you never ask somebody anything. Hey, can I help you? No, that's an ask. I don't even know you. Don't ask me anything, right? You're immediately disarming them, and you're building that initial stage of trust by giving them a compliment. That's C number 1. You want to give them a compliment, right? And most people can be pretty superficial, right? Because they've thought about what they're going to wear. They've thought about how they look. They've thought about that article that they put out. They thought about their podcast. The first thing I want to say to you, man, is, thank you so much for having me. I'm such a fan of your podcast. That episode you did with Paula Taha, and Young and Profiting, like, that's super. I can't believe you got her to talk so much, and then, oh, thanks, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah. Now let's find something in common. Both authors. Now we're talking. Now that friendship's there. And it took me 15.7 seconds. Right. So that's how you create that initial relationship all the time, always. and you hook them. To go back to your question, you hook them, you help them, and then you ask them. You hook them, help them, ask them. And sometimes you got to hook them, and then you hook them again, and then you help them, 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 and then you ask them. You know, every client's different, every situation is different, and the greatest deal you've ever done, you haven't even done yet. So it depends on where you are, kind of in that section. But that's how I think about the art of the hook up.
Do I get credit as the longest conversation? Can I use that as a testimonial?
Just so you know, I am never going to tell my wife that some dude who lives in a straw house in the mountains with 9 kids got me in the middle of a work day to spend hours with him when I go home at the end of the day. And it's like hard for me to speak 10 words. Mm-hmm. Because all I've done all day long is just talk. And when I get home, I'm like, what? What do you want to talk about?
There could be, maybe there's a brand. I'm the word thief. People have a finite amount of words, especially certain people, of words, and I claim them all.
You do claim them all.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. Seriously, thanks for the time. I'll thank Rory for bringing us together. Man, this is, as far as what drives, this is such a big piece of what drives our work, and I'm seeing the need for it so much. And I'll do the intro saying that, and I see the need for branding. I feel it more than ever in my own industry of podcasting. As an influencer, again, especially as an influencer, if you don't do the brand work, you don't get to influence people. That's what sticks out to me, and that's why I wanted you on the show. And so I am grateful. I will do my best to do justice to you spending this much time so that we have people responding going, oh my gosh, that was the best episode ever. It helped me in my work. It helped me figure out my core identity. My gosh, that's a gift to anybody for their life, much less their business, is to figure out your core identity. And some of this brand work is helping me figure out me. I didn't even get there, and I won't keep you on there, but my gosh, folks, you got to get the book and go to page 52. Okay. 52. Because the exercise, there's 5 things there. And the first one says, what does the headline of the article say when your business has been a success? And this is 5 years afterwards. And they're writing an article about you in a whatever publication you want to choose, some big publication. And they're talking about you. What does the headline say? What have you achieved? How have you influenced people? How have you impacted them? Man, that exercise right there is worth the price of admission for the book, for this show. And that's one of many exercises. So, man, I'm grateful for what you're doing here. I know it'll help me and help a lot of folks. So thank you for the hours that you granted me today. Well, friends, thanks for tuning in. Again, Ryan Serhant, his book is Brand It Like Serhant, Stand Out from the Crowd, Build Your Following, and Earn More Money. And it's a masterclass. It's something you can work through on your brand to do just what he says there. I appreciate you joining me on this journey, and I look forward to meeting you in our Drive community. You can find that at kevinmiller.co. Just hit the community button. You can also subscribe to the Drive Drop newsletter where we give weekly updates. And I hope this episode truly helped you drive further and enjoy the ride. Thanks so much for joining me on this journey. I look forward to meeting you in the Drive Tribe community for ongoing discussions about each episode. You can subscribe to the Drive Drop newsletter for weekly updates. Find it all at kevinmiller.co, along with all our social media and video clips. Until next time, I hope this episode helps you drive further and enjoy the ride.